Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ is Lord.
Hello and welcome in to another episode of Offensively Accurate, hosted by yours truly, AtlasThugged, aka White Boy D Voice, aka another racially ambiguous groiper. And forgive me, I keep forgetting my glasses have a miserable glare on the screen, so I apologize for that. A lot to get into today. Today is actually the opposite of a of a slow news day. Forgive me. I'm in the end stages of recovering from being sick. I feel a lot better today. I've actually had literally no problems at all. So thank you for all the prayers, all the support, all the kind words of encouragement. I appreciate that. Feeling a lot better. A couple of things I want to say at the very beginning. And this one's actually kind of an important announcement. This is, did I set my voice changer to be deeper? No, I can. Is this the right one? I have the voice changer right here.
Is it gonna work? I don't know which one that's on. It's on male.
This is female.
I don't know what this is.
I haven't messed with it in so long. But the announcement's actually on something a bit more serious. And that announcement is as much as YouTube has been successful for me so far, I'm only like really at the cusp of it being a full-time venture. And so because of that, I might have to downtick just a little bit of how much I'm streaming. Probably will be roping back in a good bit of like some part-time work. And part of that is specifically because I do want to make sure my wife does not have to work. And so whatever way I got to make it happen, I got to make it happen. And so I just wanted to tell you guys that now, that it might not be as consistent as what it has been, but I'll still be trying to do it as much as I can streaming and putting out videos. So to that effect, nothing really is going to change at all. You just might see me less often. And I think what I might do to reinforce that, I think will be, I might stream longer. I might do 3-hour streams instead of just 2-hour streams, and we'll see what happens with that. But just want to let you know that is in the works. I actually probably be doing some stuff over the weekend, and part of that, many of you might not even know this, but part of it is I've worked in AI training and training chatbots for a hot minute for a bunch of different companies. Unfortunately, I'm part of the reason why Google Gemini is a thing, but that's probably some of the work I'll go back to. It's like part-time. It won't take too much time away. But just to tell you that at the top, moving forward, and so just pay attention for announcements. I know I'm not consistent by any means. I saw the one comment, 6 p.m. scheduled time, 5:59 start time. Yeah, I've been able to be pretty consistent so far, and that's largely been just because YouTube's been it's been successful, it's been helpful. You guys have been very helpful with the donations and everything, so it's been extremely helpful, and I've been able to do a lot with it. I just want to say that at the beginning. Also, another thing too, this kind of falls outside of the news for today, but I had an article sent in, I believe it was House. It's always House. It's never not House, actually. And I was reading a little bit about the things from the Occidental Observer, or it might have been Countercurrent, but it was a little bit about Joel Davis and what he's kind of going through. And as much as, you know, Nick and America First and people want to make fun of the tactics, there is an element of still reading into their situation. You do feel bad for these people and the kind of draconic laws that's going through Australia. But what I will say is the article seemed to take notice of the fact that all factions, not just the right wing, but all the factions there in Australia felt like the entire system had been delegitimized a little bit by what they had done with these draconian, shutdown laws, essentially, basically giving the power to the government that they can shut down any group they deem as hateful or yada yada. And so you're reading through some of the conditions Joel Davis is going through, like 24-hour solitary confinement. They're not even letting out of the room. They're barely even feeding him. And so you read this stuff. But at the same time, you know, when we're up against these evil tyrannical forces, the idea that like, you know, it's going to be perfect and there's not going to be consequences, I think is just, that's delusional. And I don't mean that to say like, well, you know, he had it coming by any means. I say that to us now in this moment, as we look forward to ourselves, particularly in the light of what we're getting with the immigration events too. Like, you know, Dave Smith and Tim Pool are getting into it, and they're both like two of like the weakest guys on the right wing to be getting into it. But what I would say to that though, is part of the reason why we're having this discussion about immigration and not going far enough is because the moment when the rubber hit the road, people immediately went, they're like, okay, we want mass deportations, but not like this. And that's just simply not, this is not the reality of the world that you live in. Certain things will be opposed, certain things are evil, and certain things will be difficult. And, you know, mass deportations being one of them. You know, 30 million illegal immigrants need to be physically removed. They don't want to be removed. Matt Walsh actually had a great point. And Matt Walsh's point was, if these people don't want to be removed, the only way that this is actually going to happen is the physical removing of them from ICE agents, and it's going to look like this. And to that effect, I'm just saying there will be negative consequences. You're going to have to bare your teeth and lock in and be ready for it, because how bad do you want it? And it's kind of coincides as well with the same element of like, you see a lot of these people on our side in the right wing as well too, being very hesitant, not wanting to move. A lot of the plan trusters who won't move off the position of, you know, simply voting harder and such. And what I would say to that effect too is, you know, if the founding fathers waited for like the perfect moment to actually, you know, enact or do something for their country, like it would have never happened. And there's no ounce of the founding fathers when they were getting together and writing between themselves and meeting up at taverns late at night, not telling anybody where they were. None of them sat there with like this idea that was like, and we're all going to survive. We're all going to make it out on the other end. You know, there will be no consequences. There'll be no price to pay, nothing. We'll just resist against the government and we're going to be allowed to do so. That's just not how it happens. I'm sorry. Like they knew very well one of us, and each and all of us may perish in this venture, but we believe in it enough that we find it to be worth that consequence. So just to add on there and just to say, with everything going on, I want people to hang on to that. Hang on to that, because you need to have that to drive and have conviction, and also be ready and prepared for when these things do get ugly. They're going to get ugly. Now, will they get ugly because of the current direction that we're going? Probably not. But it is to say, you know, if we do get another individual in power, or something occurs to the effect of we can get the momentum back on the mass deportations, we get the pressure back on it. Don't give in. Don't collapse. Don't fold to the pressure. These things are going to be this way. They're going to get dozens more of these Renee Goods and, you know, George Floyds and Alex Pretty's. They're going to be a dime a dozen. You know, and we've barely deported less than like, it's like the number's disputed, but it's way less than what it should be. It's almost like kind of laughable when you compare it to Obama's deportation numbers. But it's to that effect of like, if you're feeling hesitant right now, you do not have the stomach or there within you to get mass deportations. So I just wanted to bring that up a little bit too. The news of the day is kind of all over the place, and two main featured stories really. There's two kind of large item events that have happened. The first is going to be Don Lemon being arrested. That is what the thumbnail is of, and really kind of felt unexpected given the current kind of direction that the administration had been treating, and the release of the other individuals, the other far left agitators, as, you know, the DeWoke farmer and whatever the other, you know, that black chick's name is. And of course, almost in the immediate, you know, they're comparing the fact that they even got arrested to slavery. You know, it was specifically the lady who had organized the event who had been interviewed by Don Lemon right before going into the church. She's sitting there talking about how the shackles and the chains, and because there was a bar that connected the two cuffs. She's like, that's ridiculous. It's unconscionable they would do that to me. And it's like, that is insane. Absolutely insane. And the point that I even have to address it or say anything, it's like, that's ridiculous. But you have to, because people hear that and they go, oh my goodness, like, wow, that's so real. You know, you get a bunch of black queens sitting there going, damn, no, that's crazy. I didn't even think about handcuffs being chains. Oh my goodness, they're just doing it again. It's like, dude, it's like, Lord have mercy. You know, you kind of like, you got to like brace yourself for how retarded this shit is sometimes. You're like, hold on, let me like get a handle down. Like, and I don't mean that to be rude specifically, but it's like that same kind of level of like literally comparing anything to like, oh, that's just like Roots. Oh, that's just like we was getting whipped. It's like, dude, holy And that's just one element of it. But Don Lemon was arrested. He is being charged on 2 counts. We'll get into that. I have a bit more details on Don Lemon. The second featured story is the fact of what's happening and bubbling up right now today, which is this next release of the Epstein files, more Epstein documents. And one thing I would say before we even get much into it, the first thing I would say actually, and very specifically, is we've kind of just blown over the fact that it was very specific and explicit inside of the law that was passed, or the legislation, whatever you want to call it, between Kana and Thomas Massie, that if the government did not capitulate and did not honor what was in here, they would be in violation of federal law. And that seems to have just passed us by. And they're doing exactly what they said they would, knowing that they were going to violate this order. They said they were going to release it, but on their own schedule, essentially. And that's kind of what we're getting. There's a few elements in there too. We're going to cover this stuff that seems to be a little bit more pertinent, but like as the advice from House, and I agree with that. Let a good bit of this sit, let people review it, because there's a lot. And the way they dump these things is almost intentional. They're like intentionally trying to obfuscate what's in there. They'll post it in in photo format, like it's not searchable. They do everything in their power to make it gay and AIDS for any average person to understand like what the hell is going on. And that's part of the battle, which is why it goes without saying, you need to be a machine, a polymath, unkillable. You need to be capable of all of these things and stop expecting someone to be there to help you. And especially, how manipulated on X and a lot of the influencers are. You can't be in the habit of expecting that to continually go to the same people and, get the facts from them because again, the whole element with this internet is you don't know who to trust. It's hard to trust anybody at all. And given the current ratio, back in the day, it used to be like you could listen to somebody for a couple of years. And then, this allegation or story comes out and you're like, dang, looking back, I can kind of see it. Like, that's crazy. I can't listen to that guy no more. Then it used to be like a year and it was like, man, these influencers seem pretty, kind of sus. Now we're in, the day and age of today. And like what we see with this gay firefighter guy with the mustache, who's been on the left wing, like screaming out the top of his lungs, giving Beards and Beard Day run for his money for like, greatest facial hair on earth. Don't let him know I said that. And within his 15 minutes of fame, he's talking about how he's given, first aid advice to all these people. And, he's just this great guy and he's putting up this big facade. We'll watch a couple of his videos. He's literally one of the biggest gay people I've ever seen in my life. And what's it come out? Oh, it comes out that because one guy commented one time that he looks like the gay guy from the Ozarks, he doxed him and then went on a raid and then like was spamming him and making fun of him being paraplegic. It was like, but this is the guy who's like virtue signaling to the rest of the world, like that ICE is like this crazy force. And it's like, brother, why don't you go back to your TikToks and make fun of paraplegics and get out of my newsfeed because you are worthless. And we have a video of that today. He's like on video crying. His sponsors are dropping him. I fought hate with hate. It's like cringe, gay. You can keep it. I don't want it. Actually, you can keep your apology. I don't care. Whatever, it's like the long story. Whatever happened, good. If it was good, well, congratulations. If it was bad, I'm sorry to hear that. Anyways. And it's just kind of fun to make fun of these people. But I have one of these clips from Pine Sap we'll look at in a little bit. But those are kind of the two main stories, and the more broader, overwhelming, or overreaching one is the administration's actions in the Middle East. And so I thought Nick did a good job covering that. And he basically last night on America First had done a recap of how we got to where we are, and so I understand that is also underpinning a lot of what's occurring here too. And given one of the releases from the Epstein files that verbatim says that Trump was compromised by Israel. I just laughed at that because Dave Smith had quoted that exact captioning and said, wow, maybe the next FBI report we will get will say that water is actually wet. And I thought that was funny. And so a bit of a comedian, but seemingly only political sense. And, everybody knows how I feel about Dave Smith, but I thought that was pretty accurate. So we have the Epstein stuff, and we have a few other things we might react to. One thing, for just as much as I've actually kind of been paying attention to the guy, and I think he's really good at what he does, Tyler Oliveira, and I don't know too much about him, but I've liked all of his recent stuff, is that YouTube not deleted, they privated it, so it's not completely deleted off the platform, but they did shut down his recent video about going into Canada. Now, I will say, we did watch the part where he tried to smuggle, and there could be an element of which it's not just general censorship, but it could be a legality thing. I didn't read into too much on the details of that, but he did post earlier today that YouTube did privatize that video, so you cannot find it on YouTube right now. So, but also in the same light, expect a lot more of that, because as the left gets more and more emboldened, and as it becomes more and more clear in poly market odds and in the polling data, in favorability markets, that the left is going to win, I hope everyone here knows that these platforms that are still captured by left-wingers will act accordingly. Their censorship is going to scale with their belief levels of the left taking back over. And this can be seen in the same way when it was looking like Donald Trump was going to win the next election. You could see all these executives come out and say, you know what, maybe we do need to make America great again, right? It's kind of like they're trying to get their ducks in a row because they can see the writing on the wall. And like how most of politics is for a lot of people, it's just they'll be there when the fair weather wind blows. So be ready for that. Because if it starts looking like it will be a complete wash and we're going to get flooded with a blue wave or whatever it is, YouTube's probably going to start bopping people out, myself included. So be ready for that, because I expect it to be coming. And especially seeing some of like the current actions of the administration, I'm not going to hold my breath that we got a chance. And beyond there, we have more of like New Jersey's governor. There's like literally open insurrection happening right now across the country. Nobody's even batting an eye. You have people like the Philly DA, which I highlighted in the video yesterday that I made, of, hunting down these ICE agents. We will find your identity. We will figure out who you are. We'll hunt you down. You have, the Democrat lady. Her name's like Praya Raja Rajija Ding Ding. And she's talking about dismantling ICE and DHS and, all of these, they weren't here until 9/11. We need to dismantle all these things. And they're telling you how it is. I mean, like, they're going to shut all this down. They're going to dismantle every element. They're going to like strike deporting people from law. They're going to make it illegal to deport people. That's what we have waiting for us on the other side. And hindsight's 2020, obviously. But I think if I was to add something to that, it would be the fact that when Nick had talked about this, obviously in the moment, but he had recapped it, I don't know if it was yesterday or a few days ago, but he explains, simply like, could you imagine though, had it been the other way around, had it been that, you get Kamala Harris in the presidency, you more than likely would have had all sides rejecting all the intervention that we have in Iran. And that maybe is like the bigger part of the story, which is Donald Trump was, I'll verbatim, I'll go off of how Nick phrased it, was allowed to become popular, was allowed to come back into the White House because he was going to be the one who would be able to get America to go along with the bombing of Iran and go full in and full scale. And to that effect, where we are right now with that is you do have the Pentagon is addressing different officials, and there are talks right now, strategic talks, that are specifically highlighting there may be an element in this which we do put boots on the ground for strategic physical dismantling of infrastructure there in Iran. But again, I think if anybody knew that the full scale of if we were to go with war with Iran, given the geopolitical, strengths that they have in terms of where they're positioned, the geography, I think that most people would have known this was going to be how we would have to fight Iran. And it's just kind of wild to see it all played out. And so that's kind of a gist of what we have going on today. I will spend some time on, specifically, I think I will spend some time on the fact that this new Fed chair that we've hired is quite literally more of the same, as we've been saying on the show, but he is in the line of what seems to be, in a matter of 3-4 months, 3 Zionist billionaires immediately becoming enriched. But then in addition to that, we now have, Kevin Warsh, I keep wanting to say Kevin Warsh, who is the son-in-law of one of these billionaires. And so there's a lot here. It's very complex, as it always is. And it looks like YouTube's feeding me out like crazy. This video's already got 400 views. That's actually kind of wild. Must be a good thumbnail, huh? Thumbnail style improved. Thumbnail enhanced. So we're going to cover that. Andrew Wilson's ascending a little bit. I probably won't spend too much time on that, but I am a big fan of Andrew Wilson. I know for a lot of women, he is a terrorist in the world of women, but I find him to be very reasonable, and I like listening to him. I know a lot of people in the family of Christianity, but he's been an absolute brute force in terms of going against, in general, like women and things like the Whatever podcast, and as well as like just specifically feminism in general, and with Rachel Wilson. But let's get started here. Just to recap, war with Iran is imminent. It looks like we are specifically going to be getting a lot of, you were right on my For You page, must be doing something right. Hey, I appreciate that. We'll take that. War with Iran is imminent. And so with this, we have the second strike considerations happening right now. They're talking about it. And again, the crazy part here is to remember this, which is the war's over. It's done. If you were listening to the plan trusters back then, the war was completely over. 12-day war wasn't even a war. It was just like a strike. And again, that was all plan trusting propaganda to get you to simply go along with what we knew was not true. Because none of the strategic objectives of either country that was involved there in the Middle East had accomplished that. And so it was simply more of a pause so they could restock artillery and get some more money in order and get some defenses rearranged, and they'd go right back at it again. And that's where we are. And that last operation was called Midnight Hammer. We'll be sending with the B2 bunker busters. Hey, can you start over, please? I'm late. All right, I'm going to rewind to 21 minutes and 41 seconds, and I'm going to repeat every word verbatim just for smelly balls. And Eek says, Andrew and Nick have a peace treaty. Yes, they seem to respect each other largely. And what I will say too, Jake Rattlesnake, who is seemingly a partner in crime with Andrew Wilson, I don't know really what their relationship is, but I see them a lot to be together. And oops, Strong's meant to click on iShow Speed. That's funny. If it's showing me next to iShow Speed, I'll take it. I'll take currently number 2 to iShow Speed. That's funny. That is kind of wild. I'm just watching the statistics on this side. It's not normal. The way that it's jumping up like that is not normal at all. But it's kind of crazy. Now I kind of forgot where I was at. No, I'm not going to rewind. We're going to keep going, keep this theme here. But going back to Iran, I'll go right back to Iran. This one and done operation, it wasn't that. It was the B2 bunker busters. And it wasn't even successful at that. It was debated like they're in the day of, directly afterwards, given some of the map and imagery that we had. They were looking at it. They're trying to figure out, was it destroyed? Did the tunnels even get collapsed? And then as the days continued, we figured out only that a couple of the tunnels had collapsed. Nobody knows where the enriched uranium is. The nuclear monitoring policy individuals came out and were just like, they were being denied. It's like the IACEA. I always get it mixed up. It's like 5-letter acronym, but they're getting rejected, being pushed out of Iran, and it was just a massive failure. No matter which way you looked at it, it was a massive failure, and the plane trusters disappeared the moment that it became realized that it was kind of a big joke. But yes, thank you for reminding me. It was Jake Rattlesnake. The only point I was going to make with Jake Rattlesnake was he posted a fire meme from Nick yesterday. I sent it to my friends who don't like Nick. I put a little group together of all my friends who don't like Nick. Sent it to him, dude. And then didn't respond to anything they said this morning. Because that's just how you have to do it sometimes. Sometimes you have to have people intentionally click on the most racist of memes. Yes, the IAEA. Thank you very much. Yes. And sometimes you just have to send the most racist of memes. That's just the way it is sometimes. You got to let people know you're about business, dude. And when they pull it up and they freak out for a second and they flash to look at you, you have to be staring directly at them. Stare them down. Well, you didn't find it funny? What wasn't funny about that meme I sent you? Take a very serious tone. But yes, say Christ is Lord. And I appreciate everybody for being here in the chat. Appreciate you guys. But going back to Iran, obviously recapping a little bit, and the plane trusters were unfortunately kind of, just being this kind of barrier in the way, and they still are, and they probably ultimately still will be. But yes, the IAEA, and so they were trying to come back in to get back in to see what the enriched uranium levels were, because they wanted to see had they advanced, how much was left, what is the state of the health of the supply, and they were rejected. And I think there's still to this day not been a deal struck around them, and I don't think there will be. And on top of all of it too, you have this kind of bragging that occurred by the administration therein. I don't know how directly after the fact it was, but they're bragging essentially about the fact that they were keeping open negotiations with Iran so they could lull them to the point where Iran would feel like they wouldn't, no way the United States would be this bad faith. And then they did. They punked them. And that's why Iran felt so unprepared. And that's just to say if Iran is listening, if Khamenei can hear me, do not trust an ounce of anything with the United States. And quite literally, like, it's not in their interest at all to negotiate with us anymore. And I can't see how they would. Why would they even attempt to? But that's kind of the talking that's happening right now from Donald Trump, is that they're having deals. Iran wants to negotiate a deal. I don't believe that for a second at all. Literally at all. Like, there's no way at this point in time, given what has occurred just in this last year and a half alone, that Iran is going to be negotiating with the United States in any ounce of good faith. If anything, it's probably picking up the phone to tell them to F off every so often. Because I don't know how you could trust it. And I think they know that, which makes me think that all the talking right now about negotiations is all complete. It's a huge bluff. There's no negotiations happening. And if there are, I think they're probably lying about the nature of them. So back to the consideration of raids on the ground, that goes to the geology of, what is actually the way Iran's situated, the way their nuclear bunkers are, the way they can defend themselves, their ballistic missile systems, their ability to just basically, darken the sky. So there's a lot to go at it. Obviously people want regime change there. That seems to be that is the large element of it. They want a pro-Israel, or at least a country that will acknowledge Israel and treat it and give Israel what they would like and want from them as a kind of, not a vassal state, but as a neighboring state in the region. And we know none of that was accomplished with Operation Midnight Hammer. So it needs to be said that the purpose and the reasoning of Trump being in office, and the reason why Donald Trump is in office, is because he was installed or allowed to be installed. Whether your belief of how controlled it is, irrelevant now. And everything else that's come afterwards is kind of the consolation prize. These kind of the tariffs, the war, the war on trade. I guess not having women in female sports. I guess with the executive order. These are all, like as Nick said, stocking stuffers. These are all these are not by any means like it's just kind of like in the draft of Donald Trump. Not a primary search. Not a number one high priority item that needs to be done. Not at all. It's all ancillary. So that's kind of where we are with the war with Iran. The drawdown with the deportations in Minnesota is disappointing, and I know people might like Tom Homan here in the chat, but he's been a huge disappointment. Now I know there's been claims that he was kind of promoted as almost like a figurehead for said deportations, for said, the border. And, now there's reports that we have Corey Lewandowski, who's supposedly sleeping with Kristi Noem, cheating on her husband or whatever. I don't even know if they're together. Having like an internal battle with Tom Homan. And what do we get? Well, what we get from Tom Homan in this press conference is he comes out and he tells people, pipe down. We're going to get targeted operations. Targeted operations. Well, furthermore, he says, like we've always done. And I think that's kind of that's the point, which is, well, we're kind of in an unprecedented moment. So why would we be doing what we've always done? Has America always had 30 plus million illegal immigrants in its nation? No, I don't think so. So for them to say we're going to carry on the same deportation efforts, targeted, very specific, okay, but like that's kind of telling on yourself that you're not going to be doing mass deportations, because the mass implies more. The mass implies a lot of them. The mass implies broad sweeping. The mass implies a lot of people not being here, and that's not what we're getting. So then he holds his press conference, throwing everybody under the bus. ICE isn't perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has bad days, and it's just sad because it's another individual throwing these ICE agents under the bus. And you got to think too, if you're one of these guys personally, and you see that the guys who were involved with Alex Pretty were sent on administrative leave. Now I don't know if that's paid administrative leave or not, but you got to think a lot of these guys got to be thinking too, like, I don't want to be the next guy, because the next guy might get charged. They'll put these guys on leave, but if the pressure keeps mounting, the next dude might be charged. I'm not even going to do it. Let him go. Oh, Maria Machado's, husband just ran out of this SUV. Let him, dude. Let him. I need the money. And so now we have our own administrations putting pressure on the actual men who have taken up the position of actually putting themselves physically in harm's way to carry out these mass deportations for the people. So not only is the left screaming at them, throwing steaming piles of shit in their faces, trying to basically get them killed on a day-to-day basis during the protest there in Minnesota, on top of that, the people who hired them, who they're supposed to be working for, are also sitting there throwing steaming piles of shit at them. At this point, the argument about mass deportations is it's irrelevant. It's just like, it's not going to happen. With the midterms around the corner, not going to happen. But furthermore, if this war with Iran actually kicks up in the direction that people expect it to, at least the way that Nick feels it will, and it will happen here in 2026. Well, what happens if we engage in what if this war, it becomes a forever war? What if this war turns out to be a little bit more of attrition? What if it takes the shape of something that will begin to be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years long? Well, then you'll have the administration and others saying, well, we can't focus on domestic issues. We have war with Iran. Are you ready for this one? This one would break the nation open. Hold on, we can't have elections right now. We're in a wartime. They're going to take a page out of Netanyahu's book. I swear, we'll have elections. We'll have elections again in a couple years from now. So I don't know. But I got a strong feeling that there is big potential for this Iran war to become the next excuse maker for the administration. Well, we were going to do those things, but like now we have to make sure our deportation efforts are on like the terrorist cells. And now we got to do some very specific, targeted operations looking for, Islamic terrorist cells. I can see it. I can see it clear as day. And I feel like that is what's awaiting us on the other side. And I thought this was the best part, right? So you have the mayor of Minnesota and the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, as well as like all these other people like around the nation, the mayor of Seattle, the governor of Colorado, whatever. And they're all coming out here like F you, F ICE, we will hunt you down. We will find your names. We will crucify you in front of the nation. If we have to treat you like the Nazis, we will. Tom Homan administration comes in. Whoa, hey, can't we all get along? Whoa, hey, everybody has bad days. Guys, come on. It's like, dude, this is like, whoa. It's pathetic is what it is. It's pathetic, and it's obviously frustrating, but it's extremely pathetic. And the most important element of it is the fact that it's providing extreme downward pressure on ICE agents. And I do expect a lot of them are probably feeling demoralized, and I would too. A lot of them probably feeling good that they're making money, but would you expect that an ICE agent will go the extra step or the extra mile to do something that he may be deemed questionable? Not a chance. Now, sure, there may be some, despite that, in the face of knowing what the penalties will be, will still do it. And to them, I applaud them. But it's only unfortunate that our system will seek to harm them and crucify them for doing something that they were asked to and that the people voted for. But that's the American system for you. And again, I think the last thing that people are expecting when they see, Nick Shirley, Somalian fraud in Minnesota, Nick Shirley, Somalian fraud in Columbus, Tyler Oliveira, hey, look at these Jews in New York, fraud. Dr. Oz, like we looked at yesterday, they're over at Russian Armenians, like committing fraud in LA. And the idea here is that people want targeted operations. The gist is that clearly in every state, there's these batches of foreigners who are living off the backs of hardworking Americans. The last thing in people's heads when they hear it nonstop, day in and day out for the last couple of months is targeted specific operations. What most people are expecting at this point are like, bro, we need to roll the tanks for this city. We need doors kicked in. We need broad reaching massive sweeps, clearing these people out. What do you mean targeted? We're hunting down one individual people. You see, it's on video over and over and over again. This community, this community, this community, this community. And I'm sure we'll see more before the day is over, before the month is over. I'm sure there'll be another video from Nick Shirley or Tyler Oliveira or some random YouTuber who's like, hey, hold on a minute. There are a lot of Indians in this area. Next thing you know, some random guy from Colorado will have 1 million followers. But if that's the extent of all that we get, which is just now we know it's happening, we're not going to get anything in return, no consequences, no actual real justice, then I would rather not even know in the first place. So I think overall what it really does to people is just pisses them off. Because then you get this, you get all this information, this soy jocking, like Ilhan Omar's winery, $5 million gone here. Whoa, Ilhan Omar's business filings completely disappeared. What? You know, $14 million in fraud in this doesn't matter. Why would I? I don't want to know. It just makes me mad. It's like I'll go watch the Ozarks or something if I when it's pissed off, right? So it's only really meaningful if it's consequential, and right now it's not consequential at all. Sure, it's great for Nick Shirley. Now he's going on tours and on podcasts. It's wonderful. But again, it would be a lot more consequential too if Nick Shirley, instead of saying we're trusting the plan, if Nick Shirley batted down a bit harder and was like, listen, dude, I didn't risk my life in Minnesota to go look at all these, third worldists who are, raking in the dough. So Donald Trump could not do a damn thing about it. He's like, I went in there so the FBI could be knocking in heads. What are we doing? Where's our Indian Valhallan leader at? The leader of the FBI. Is he in Valhalla right now? Can someone call him? Could someone get a hold of Thor or Loki? Send a thunderbolt into the sky? Hey, Kash Patel, where are you? Could you please help us? Where is Valhalla? I don't even know. It's just insane, man. It's honestly insane. And there was a little bit about this thing called Upscrolled. I have not looked into it too much, to be honest with you, but I've seen a few people shilling it. It seems to be the same literal people who also showed the same fake gambling site that was like rerouted through Pakistan. Dude, people would do anything for $1. And that is very sad. The View Halla, that's golden. Yeah, he's in the View Halla. Hold on, I have a few more podcasts to do. Justice is on the way. Hold on, I have a Joe Rogan episode to do, and then I'll be right there. Hold on, the people need to know what I think about this one random event, this one obscure thing that happened in history in the 80s. Like, so dumb. So dumb. And Hassan was banned on Twitch. I think I didn't mention that at the beginning. But Hassan was banned on Twitch. And because he said something to the effect of these people are, quote, rabid ultra-Zionist pigs, is what Hassan Abi said. Supposedly, that's what the report is saying is what got him. And this turned into him having a huge beef with Nick. Nick addressed it yesterday. It's been happening back and forth on the timeline earlier today. If you listen to Hassan, if you like Hassan, I'm sorry, that's just a sign. That's a Darwin Award, actually. I have no problem using that term whatsoever either. Congratulations, you earned it. I would root for you to stop and contact, call 1-800. Why do you watch Hassan? Call 1-800. Just starts listing all the side effects. Have you felt an increasing urge to put something in your behind? You probably are watching too much Hassan. Do you find yourself questioning why you're looking for dog collars that can zap on Amazon? Like, dude, like it's just not a good person whatsoever, but they're getting back and forth into it. And so where the argument is going to is where it stops with Dave Smith and many of the containment right, which is you can criticize Israel as much as you want. It's Israel's the problem, but Jews have nothing to do with it. Jewishness has nothing to do with it. There's nothing about the ethnicity, the in-group bias, the religion, near zero, zilch, nothing, has nothing to do with it at all. They are all Jewish, but it has nothing to do with it. That is the containment rights argument. That seems to be also Hassan's argument as well. And because he also has to appease the intersectionality of things. And that's where Nick Fuentes was kind of stepping in. Nick Fuentes going into the realm of saying, no, I'm not critical of Israel enough. Okay, let's talk about organized Jewry. Let's talk about world Jewry. Let's talk about Jewish influence, Zionist influence. Let's go this far. Are they all Zionists, Hassan? And that was good. We'll cover that a little bit too, if I can get to it. one comment I'm not even going to address because it doesn't need to be, because if you are still a Trump supporter after Donald Trump went up on stage and talked about how houses need to be more expensive, so the people who own them off of all of the shitty dealings that's been occurring in real estate for the last 15, 20 years, so people can maintain their house values, it's like, I mean, give it up, dude. Give it up. Go buy yourself a Fell Forward Again award. In fact, buy 10 because you're probably going to need it again. And blood pin that shit to your chest and wear it for the rest of your life so we can figure out who you are and we can mark you, you know? It's going to become a resume question. It's going to be like, oh, for a job interview. Be like, all right, dude, resume looked good. Interview's just one question. Are you trusting the plan? and depending on how they answer that question, you're like, okay, thank you, but unfortunately this position requires us to hire people who are not mentally retarded. And so we need someone who has full capability of their cognitive faculties. I'm sorry. Do you need me to call a short bus on the way back? It's free. Apparently there's a lot of people who are jumping in chat, a lot of magatards. The megatard saw the lowest hanging fruit, which was I shouldn't have done the Don Lemon thumbnail. I should have done the Donald Trump one. I had two ready to go. I had one of the Don Lemon, which I thought was just easy. And then I had the one of Donald Trump like this, but with like Fell Forward Again awards. It didn't look as good. It looked a little bit AI, so I used the other one instead. But it appears I'm attracting all who's left, all who remains. They who remain, dude. Hey, you get a badge for loyalty, but that's the only thing you get. I'm not even going to cover that one. That one was just insane, dude. I almost looked it up earlier today, but I was like, no, people don't need to be told that's retarded. And if you do need my help telling you that, I am sorry. I'm not here. I will not be able to provide that assistance. One other thing that blew me away, we can watch this. It's kind of like a break of me kind of ranting, going on this long rant. Trump apparently posted a video on his Truth Social, or reposted one, telling Owen Schroyer to shut the fuck up. Like this was like, so I didn't see the actual video, and I went to go looking for it, and it's like a 5-6 minute long video. I didn't really care to watch it. But what we do have is Owen Schroyer addressing it. So watch a little bit of this, because I saw his response to it, and I was like, what? The guy who like went to jail for J6 for supporting Donald Trump. Now Donald Trump is reposting FU videos to it. Oh, that's lovely. Also, while at the same time, all the people involved in the January 6th Commission, our DOJ is coming out and saying, everybody stop complaining, the statutes of limitations. The Indian woman said, with a name I can't pronounce. She said in Americanese. That's what it's going to be, dude. Ebonics will just be relabeled Americanese. And we're all going to talk like that. All gonna talk like that, man. I can't even do a good one. But here's the video. This is Owen Schroyer reacting to Truth Social. And what's sad, and here's the crazy thing, is this is like the first time Trump has like acknowledged Owen Schroyer. And it wasn't for anything that he did for Trump. It was to tell him, fuck you. But here's this from it. This is crazy.
So you may have seen that President Trump posted on his Truth Social a video featuring me telling me to shut the fuck up. Now, I don't really believe that Trump knows what he posted or even posted it at all. But if he did...
All right, no more racist jokes. Marcus is in here.
Let me say this.
Lock in.
I do think it's funny that after everything I've done to support President Trump, and he's never recognized me once... And I'll get to everything that I've done in support of President Trump here in a minute. But he's never recognized me once for any of that. But now he's going to post content telling me to shut the fuck up and insulting me. So I think that says quite a bit. And you can only imagine what that's like for me. But I don't take anything in politics personally. So I'm really not too affected by it. And
I'm sorry, dude. But Owen has been one of the top guys for MAGA and for the Trump administration, you know, obviously notwithstanding this last couple of years with all the recent revelations. But for that to be the first time Trump finally acknowledges you is because he was tired of you telling the world that he was unfit to be our president. Then he'll finally come in. No thank you, no nothing. And I will say, I'm always generally going to be typically supportive of Owen Schroyer completely. Like, listen, dude, the only jersey that I'm wearing says Groyper, dude. There's literally no other ties.
Still don't even think Trump knows what he posted or even posted it at all. Here's what I do think happened. If you notice at the bottom of the video, there's a little watermark that says Dilly Meme Team. Now, I think that either the Trump campaign pays the Dilly Meme Team, which is run by a guy named Brendan Dilly, or Brendan Dilly has access to Trump's Truth Social where he posts his videos. I don't know. You'd have to ask him, but that's what I suspect happened. Now, if that is the case, it's actually quite petty that Brendan would use the president's social media account to deal with his beefs. What am I talking about?
So, anyway, he's going to get into like the Dilly Meme Team, who are like a bunch of, they're a bunch of men who love phallic-shaped objects, typically of the human nature, and they like putting them in their mouth. The Dilly Meme Team is some of the most butthurt individuals I've ever seen in my life. Now, I know Brendan Dilly's like one of the main ones. I'm not sure how big the team is or who all is involved in it. But man, dude, these guys are the most soft people I've ever seen. And if you guys are familiar with John Ward, you guys know that John Ward argues with him seemingly on X like every other day. And part of the reason is John Ward was one of the original memes in the original like great meme war of 14, 15, 16. And so he's one of the originals going at who's been brought under the wing in the Trump administration to make all these memes for Trump. And now they argue with everybody. And now the memers are complaining online. They have become the whinging, crying liberals they sought to destroy. And just to give you a bit of insight too, you guys might remember when there was the highly controversial meme, I guess you could say, or like, pro post, whatever you want to say about Donald Trump that happened, I believe, in either early 2024 or it was like late 2023, that did come from the Dilly Meme Team, which did depict Donald Trump on a cross like he was Jesus Christ. And people were not having it with that one. And I still remember that one to this day. But I think looking back, hindsight's 2020. This is that was like a sending us a warning about how he felt and how he was going to serve in his term. But you can find that full video. It's like 7 minutes long of Owen Schroyer going into detail about that interaction there. Just wanted to bring it to your attention there because wow, just wow, right? The guy says right winger. He does that because he misspelled it. Right winders are epigenetically underdeveloped and culturally inferior. He says, well, he can't beat autocorrect. Get owned by technology. That's funny. People are insane, dude. But into what I probably is going to be the main story of today is the information that we got that Trump is now nominating Kevin Warsh, the name, to be the new Fed chair, who is going to be replacing Jerome Powell, who, if you remember, yeah, I'm a right winder, dude. Right winders unite. That's dangerously close to something. Right winders unite. Winders. How can you pronounce that for me? I need to get my A1 education at the Quality Learning Center. And then after there, I'll take my post-education at the Candace Owens School of Learning How to Read Good. And my partner will be Kai Cenat. He'll be my roommate. Oh, man. Today's something, isn't it? I hope you guys are having a good day today. It's hard to, but if you're having fun, you're winning, man. Can't lose sight of the little victories you have here and now. But in terms of Epstein, going into the Epstein, some of what we have dumping out here is the new Fed chair who's replacing Jerome Powell. If you guys remember Jerome Powell, it was very vocal, the going back and forth. And I think it was some of the comments from Jerome Powell who basically said, no, Trump can't do anything to me. that then led into what I believe was kind of an AstroTurf story, but we're going to raid Fort Knox. And never happened, at least to my knowledge, it never moved on from anywhere. But he's been replaced. And it's from this, though, that not only do we get the news that he was nominated, but in the same breath, I don't know if it came from the recent Epstein document batch, but regardless, it was revealed that Kevin Warsh is in the Epstein files. But beyond that, it's not even just that he's in the Epstein files. It's that Kevin Warsh is the son-in-law married to the daughter of Ron Lauder, or Lauder, however you say it, who is the Ron Lauder, who is the Zionist billionaire, who has been the voice in Trump's ear to purchase Greenland. And while he was the voice that was whispering in Donald Trump's ear, he was quietly investing into a bunch of businesses and making a bunch of just general investments in Greenland with the expectation that Greenland will soon be under U.S. occupation or will be owned by the United States, thus putting him in a good position. So track with me for a second. The United States bans TikTok, has a ongoing war with it, and then essentially settles it. We get past a bunch of back and forth. Is it China? Is it Israel? Yada, yada. It's Israel. And they hand it to the Zionist billionaire Larry Ellison, whose son David Ellison is fighting tooth and nail still with Netflix to acquire Warner Bros. Discovery. Now, right for the time being, it looks like Netflix is currently winning that, and David Ellison will not get Warner Bros. Discovery. However, the last I looked into it is that David Ellison is looking at other ways to sue. It tracks. It tracks. And then beyond that, you're still on the Greenland BS? Oh. Dude, what comment is that, dude? Bro, remind me, I will never do the vertical stream again. I do not want you retards in here, dude. It was a mistake. The Goyim have gone insane. It's kind of wild how my politics have merged into Nick's. I guess that's what happens when you listen to him nonstop. I'm not hiding it. I'm very honest that I am a very loyal Nick watcher and griper. Not MAGA loyal. Are we still on about this Greenland BS? Like, who the fuck are you? I need to stop cursing, actually. I've been so bad about that lately. But also at the same time, it does get the point across a little bit more, but I can do without. Okay. Resetting. You're a griper? Yes. Yeah. Well, hey, okay, to be fair, there's probably a lot of new people in here. Yes, I am a griper. America first, America only. I am a griper. I pledge allegiance to Nick Fuentes. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way, how many times am I got to do that? It's funny, based. I can be offensive sometimes. I'll get that out there. This is not going to be the can we just unify? Can we all just get along? I need to do drugs or something, dude. I'm too sober. Okay. You don't never do drugs. That is awful. Unless it's human growth hormone and your looks maxing. Then. Okay, we're getting off track, guys. Come on. Okay, so we just covered David Ellison, still fighting, suing, looking for ventures to sue. And I believe it was on the fact that they were looking into interference of some degree, or that it was in bad faith with the negotiations and such. So that's where that was at. And thank you to House. I caught the comment. It's way up there now, but also that Lauder is the president of is it the World Jewish Congress? Or is it the Zionist Congress? Where was that comment at House? Yeah, the World Jewish Congress. There's so many of them. I get them all confused. So big player. And if you look up Ron Lauder on X, you will just find endless videos of him Anti-Semitism, it's the same, it's the usual, right? It's the we need to outlaw anti-Semitism, throw the First Amendment out the window. Anti-Semitism needs to be, throw these people in jail, right? That's what this kind of guy's on. And then, so track with me, so the Ellisons and Louder, but then we also had, when the U.S. was sanctioning Citgo, which is was the Venezuelan state-owned oil company, they were being sanctioned, essentially was forced to then sell. They then sold to Paul Singer, another Zionist billionaire. And then in addition to that, well, that's all ongoing. Now you have the Louder thing. So in quick succession, you have multiple Zionist billionaires being enriched in a matter of like 2, 3, 4 months. Now, the Ellison one is a bit longer of an ordeal, but the Paul Singer, now the Ron Louder one, is happening in very rapid succession very quickly. And on top of that, today, Trump, or I guess it would have been more so this morning and last night, because people it kind of got leaked out a little bit, so people knew. And well, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that, brother. Thank you very much. Then now Kevin Warsh, who is the son of Ron Louder, is now installed as the head or the chair of the Fed. He's now the Fed chair, I guess is what you would say, the Fed chair. I think that's the correct term. And Kevin Warsh obviously have all these connections through the family and being married into that family. In addition to that, was literally a steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group. Now, what is a steering committee member? A steering committee member is exactly what it sounds like. They steer. They're a committee that specifically seeks to have oversight over said direction of certain things, this being the Bilderberg Group. The Bilderberg Group having a number of conspiracies behind them, whether going from, being most people's opening red pill to, the depopulation agendas and, one world government, new world order, right? All these things that come out of the Bilderberg Group. If you're a fan of Luke Rudkowski, you probably know all about the Bilderberg Group. And that's where he comes from. That's our new Fed chair. So in amidst of all of this, and now today, a steering committee member of the Bilderberg Group, who is the son-in-law of a Zionist billionaire, is now the Fed chair. Which is just more of the same. We're getting really close to changing the name of the show to more of the same. More of the same. And so, I just want to know, are you winning yet? Is this your golden age? Ooh, I had a super chat in here. Sorry, I missed it. From AI World Champion, it says, Bufin methafentawana. Bufin methafentawana until I'm George Clooney. Those are the famous last words of George Floyd. So I've heard, allegedly. Allegedly. Saves you a lot of trouble. Just say allegedly. Oh my gosh. And so Ron Louder, also in addition to all this what's going on, Ron Louder, on top of that, was also awarded a major lithium project in Ukraine, which, if you know anything about Ukraine, part of the big reasons of why people are fighting Ukraine, it's known as the breadbasket of Europe, because it does have a plethora of a lot of these resources, supplies, etc. Ron Louder's everywhere. Now Ron Louder's involved in Ukraine, which is coincidentally the war that Donald Trump said he would end in 24 hours. That's not ending or really has any end in sight. More of the same. So we are not winning. This is not a golden age. This is actually not what anybody asked for, quite literally at all. But from the words of Ron Louder, I'll just let him tell you himself. He thinks you should be jailed for anti-Semitism. Yeah, if he wanted to suck, it'd be offensively mediocre, which is actually a fire name, to be honest with you. Can't believe I didn't think of that. But here's Ron Louder. Nice 30-second clip here. Every nation should adopt severe laws to jail their citizens for speech he deems anti-Semitic.
All world leaders, all politicians must lead in this effort. Words are not enough. Political speeches are not enough. Laws must be passed, severe, tough, real laws that will put these hate mongers
What is he saying?
away in prison for a long time.
That's not fair. That's not fair. She couldn't defend herself.
All world leaders, all politicians.
Dude, no way. The whole front row's got hearing aids in, dog. Look at this one. You will be ruled by boomers and you will love it. You will love it. Yeah, AARP front row, dude. Hey, can someone get Rob Gronkowski? I got a few people who will be buying what he's selling, dude. AARP. Is that the one? No, I'm probably getting him confused. I watch too many NFL football games. I have all these stupid insurance jingles stuck in my head. Who's that one? Jake from State Farm. It's like that should be light skinned dude who like looks like Patrick Mahomes. Funny. And just to point out, I'm not going to play them back to back to back to back, but there's loads of Ron Lauder you can find just in like the last year, 2 years alone. Just adopt the anti-Semitism laws, anti-Semitism, jail these people, rising anti-Semitism. Again, it's more of the same. It's just these people don't miss, dude. It's nonstop. They won't quit. And that's kind of your up to date on who the latest Kevin. You can't watch Goy Ball anymore. It cracks me up. I've been seeing a lot of people on this note. Sorry to keep changing subjects. On this note, I've seen this new thing going around calling weed goynip. And I saw this one guy who like, he was like, you know what? He's like, I've never really wanted to quit until people started calling it goynip. And now I think I have to actually physically stop because I can't smoke anymore knowing that meme is out there. And I was like, dude, I'm dying. The photo is crazy, dude. It's a jar of weed, and on it is like this guy who looks like Shaggy, and he's like, his eyes are like this, and he's got a TV in front of him, and he's holding his phone, and he's like going up is too good, dude. Exactly, bro. Jinx. Too good, man. Too good, bro. And I can't even get AI to make half of what I want, and it's not even like there's nothing violent going on. Dude, I'm like, hey, AI, can you like do this one thing of like Don Lemon, like with a mugshot? And it's like, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that for you. We don't do that here. I'm like, and this is part of the reason like why I'm not going to be paying for any of these like AI programs, dude. Forgive me. Like I'm not paying like $40 a month for the AI to tell me it's not going to make it because it's like it's too close to violating the TOS. Like, dog, listen, I don't got the big bucks to be paying Photoshop editors to be making memes of me choking out Don Lemon. Just have the AI do it. Just do it, man. I was trying to even get away with it. I'm taking like some of these old Mr. Beast memes, like in video thumbnails, which I did cheat. That's how my last one came about. And I'm just like, replace Mr. Beast with Don Lemon. I'm sorry, I can't do that. I'm like, dang it, dude. I'm just trying to get one of the like showing Don Lemon being choked out. I couldn't get it, dude. No AI would work with me. They would not help, dude. Well, and funny enough, get this. I had to switch to using Google Gemini because all the other ones are so woke. Google Gemini, that's like the Nano Banana Pro. It's like the only one I can go to that even halfway works. Dude, half of what I'm typing in, if I say do this with Nick Fuentes, it's like, sorry. My overlords have prevented this request from going any further. Sometimes it'll just glitch. It'll just say request failed. Okay. That didn't help. That's that. I should have played the community submission button. I apologize. That topic was brought to you today by House Leotardo. And so shout out to House Leotardo. Anybody who was wanting to get into some news or get today's news yesterday, pay attention to the tinfoilhat.com channel in the Discord. It is there specifically for that purpose. It is there to be ahead of the game and specifically for people to put in news and articles and elements that are all very relevant and are specifically around what we cover here. And so to that effect, shout out to House. He's like the #1 poster in there. But to go back to the Epstein thing, which, you know, coming full circle, this Kevin Warsh guy who was recently named the Fed chair is also in the Epstein files. And in addition to that, it's also being reported now that Elon Musk is in the Epstein files. And specifically, there was two two elements to that. I think the one that I had seen, the batch of documents I had seen, was basically Epstein asking or telling, Elon he will send him a heli. And I read into some of the details of it. Thank you, Downey Brook, for posting the Discord link. Read into some of the details of it, and it turns out that I believe that Elon Musk was in the U.S. Virgin Islands at the time, which is about like 20 miles away from where Jeffrey Epstein's island is at. And so the conversation seems to be a short conversation about Jeffrey Epstein sending Elon Musk a helicopter to get him over there. Now, Elon has consistently denied being involved at all and never going to the island. So that can be a whole other situation. I really could care less. Elon Musk isn't someone I care about. Ultimately, in the long run, in terms of like, is he involved in the Epstein list? The dude probably does unhinged things all the time, right? Like he did weird stuff with Amber Heard in like a cosplay outfit. Like, of course he is, dude. He's got like 10 baby moms. Like, you know what I mean? And like, wow, a rich billionaire did crazy shit with women. Like, thank you. Breaking news. Breaking news. Like, I'm not going to do the whole gist. Okay. Anyways, the important one though, and the one that I think is the most significant development that's come out of the Epstein stuff so far, from what I've looked at, and again, my kind of cutoff time is around like 5 o'clock when I quit looking at stuff to get things ready and switch over to here. But it is that there was this unclassified FBI CHS report. Now, CHS, I'll clear it up for you right now. CHS stands for Confidential Human Source, which has replaced the language of CI, which used to mean confidential informant. For people who are wondering what these terms are, there you go. But it was this unclassified FBI confidential human source, the report that claims that, quote, Trump was co-opted by Israel during his first presidency, with Jared Kushner effectively running the show. And so the CHS report comes from a FBI verified informant, and that's what the CHS designation means. Now, the update that I got literally right before I went on air, I'll pull up here for you, which is supposedly that the individual by the name of Ken Silva has identified the informant as Charles Johnson, allegedly. So I'll take that to you now. This is where the tweet that I'd seen it from Laundry Queen. They say apparently it was Chuck Johnson who was the FBI informant who alleged Trump has been compromised by Israel. He just got out of jail today, not without agreeing to hand over access to financial and social media accounts. Love him or hate him, he's a fascinating figure. I will always personally believe Chuck is a patriot. What they are quoting is the scoop here from Ken Silva, saying, I can identify the FBI informant who made this allegation, Charles Johnson, and he adds his social account. I know this because I have an unredacted Johnson CHS report with the same source ID, 000099701. Johnson is the one who outed Peter Thiel as an informant, and he just got out of jail today. So they match that with the disclosed TV report that is covering this. So, let's give you an update on that, but it's in this report that it says a few kind of wild things in it as well. We can read through it a little bit. This is kind of the broader one here, but it's in this one here. And in this section paragraph over here, CHS believed, you won't be able to read it from there. Forgive me. CHS believed that Alan Dershowitz, was co-opted by Mossad and subscribed to their mission. In the text highlighted on the right-hand side says that CHS advised that this was a real collusion story. Trump has been compromised. Israel and Kushner is the real brains behind his organization and his presidency. And so therein, and I've read through this earlier, is it seems to be that there was an element or a kernel of truth in the Russian collusion story, not in any way or frame that the left had painted it, but that the Russian collusion was coming from Kushner and Kushner's involvement with the Chabad. And Chabad, the Lubovichers, are seemingly who have the strongest control on Donald Trump. They got his personal phone number and stuff. And great quote here from Uncle House Leotardo. He says, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just in the way. Charles Johnson. And so what it seems to be, and so take it with a grain of salt here, just giving you a very shorthand account or telling what this document kind of appears to tell, is that there's some level of connection between the Chabad that Putin also keeps in-house to maintain an eye on the oligarchs that exist in Russia. Because again, this power reaches everywhere. It's not just here in America. And that being the connective element, Kushner being the connective tissue that connected the Chabad there with Putin to the Chabad there with Donald Trump. And so there's some elements there, but just to give you a description of that. But like I said there towards the beginning as well, it would be nice for this to let it sit a little bit, let some more more advanced individuals than I review some of these documents, match some things together, and quite frankly, honestly, connect a bit more dots. Because as you saw, this was reported 4 hours ago, and then 3 hours later, you have somebody who's like, wait a minute, I had this ID. And that's kind of like how these things go, developing stories, how it should be treated. And I'm sure there'll be more that will come from this. Now, there was also a batch document that was released, and this one was the one I probably won't spend too much time on because it was deleted, and surely that's a sign of that there's something that was in there that shouldn't have been. But also, the batch document that was released was like wild, and it was like it was a batch of complaints, largely all aimed at Donald Trump, and it was rather disturbing. I won't give any details now because I don't want to get sued for defamation or anything by any means like that, because you know how Cash Patel's girlfriend is with these kind of things. But I will say, if you do see those documents, they are insane and wild, and it does at the bare minimum kind of paint a more visual and vivid picture of like what the true nature was, if it's true, allegedly, of Trump's relationship with Epstein. Is there a link to those documents? There is, in tinfoilhat.com in the Discord. That is where you can go to find a lot of things I will talk about here on stream. I believe House posted it, and I believe Biggest Ridiculous also posted it too. There should be, I believe, 2 separate links. Both probably take you to a Telegram. I think the one that Biggest posted is actually a Google Doc link, but they should both be in there, I believe. And just scroll up to find the Discord link. Donnie put it in here in chat not too long ago if you want to find it. And then the other one that's kind of wild that ropes in Bill Gates is this STD claim. And these new files allege that Bill Gates slept with these Russian girls and he got an STD. And then he asked Jeffrey Epstein for antibiotics to then slip to his then wife, Melinda. So this is the other kind of, crazy story that's occurring. And it's just funny because the element of which they have the document is the fact that Epstein wrote an email to himself. And it's kind of curious. And so when you dig into it, it seems that there's also another email that he did earlier in the day where he wrote it to himself. Just strikes me as odd in general to write an email to yourself. Like the only time I would do that is when I need like when I can't pull something up on my phone, but I want it from my phone to be on my computer. I'll do something stupid like that. Or I'll send myself a message so that I can pull it off somewhere else, etc. But again, looks bad, looks rough. Bill Gates has come out and denied them, said they're fraudulent, they're false, they're fake, whatever you got to say. But it was a lengthy message from Jeffrey Epstein, who was mad. He's pissed off. Jeffrey Epstein was pissed off that Bill Gates put a torch to the relationship, and so that's kind of like what you're reading into there. So, quote from one of these messages from the email, quote, "To add insult to the injury, you, them, implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD. Your request that I provide you antibiotics that you can surreptitiously give to Melinda in the description of your penis." Jeffrey Epstein, crazy guy. Wild guy, huh? Kind of a wild person, if you're asking me. And that's kind of the broad-reaching elements of the Epstein story, and to bring you up to speed on who the Fed chair is, Kevin Warsh, and where we are with that too. In addition to the fact of the overall element, and kind of like I would imagine most people are feeling very, very, very demoralized. I mostly get emails from assholes. But a lot of people being very demoralized, and I imagine a lot of people here in chat feel demoralized too, just over the nature and the acceptance that we're not going to get the mass deportations. I don't want to blackpill either, at all. But I do think it was a good insight though to get into the heart of the average right winger, and getting that insight and acceptance, even an acknowledgement of that, which is we do need people to be much more on board with these things, because it will only be an absolute liability to begin the operation, go full force, and then have people on your side start to defect and say, "Oh, woe is me." Please, oh, please, right? Please don't deport these people. We need to give them nice and lavish meals. We need to be massaging them, give them shoulder rubs, rub their feet. That's how we need to be treating these people who invaded into the country. No, I'm sorry. ICE hasn't even begun to go far enough. And to be quite frank with you too, the Don Lemon story is like, that's nothing to applaud. There's no one should be clapping their hands and be cheering for it. Granted, I'm glad that it happened, but that should have been without question. That should have gone without saying that Don Lemon would have been arrested. It's actually a testament to how shit the administration is, that it was even an argument in the first place, and that the DOJ had requested or withdrawn its request for arrest of those individuals in the first place. We are very far away from where we should be in terms of what we are getting done, what the administration is getting done. But again, expecting anything from this current administration, I think, is a step too far right now. And right now, I think we're going to kind of like just watch it convolute essentially until we get war with Iran. And I'm sure you'll get a lot more of the true administration once we are fully in war with Iran. Because once the strike goes off and we're in wartime, a lot of other bets begin to, a lot of bets are off the table. But one other thing though, did I cover that already? I think I did. Oh, I did. I already talked about that. So moving on to some more of the fluest elements of today, some more of the more reactive. We'll have a bit more fun now going through here. And let me respond to some of you guys. Chat's moving a little quickly here. Everybody commenting on my big Junos or something? Tix Bummer says it's bullshit anyways. Nothing will happen to any of them. This country doesn't give a F about Christians. True. Very true. The American government hates white people and it hates Christianity. And it will do everything in its power to seek to destroy any momentous element of that. Comrade Jones says, I think you're seeing the cracks of this approach to mass deportation, though. American citizens and legal people are caught in the dragnet. Right. That's exactly. Well, this is kind of what was aligning the predictions from Epstein, Lord forgive me, from Nick as well before 2024, which is that we should have known this. We should have seen it coming. And knowing how Donald Trump, like, is an absolute, like, he is a slut for good media stories, for good headlines about him. And knowing that, I think everyone should have known before we even got to this point that he was going to fold and we were never going to get mass deportations. You know, the moment that they start blasting that, like, Donald Trump just, launched 5 Mexicans out of a nuclear bomb back to Tijuana, like, people were going to start screaming and start throwing around, right? And you were going to see the activation of all the self-hating whites come out and begin, doing what they do, which is standing in the way and getting themselves killed for no good reason. And quite literally trying to subvert and reject and deny the will of the American people. Yeah, I am a stud, aren't I? I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. That's funny. I'm in aura recovery mode. After Sneeko. He jumped me, dude. Sneeko jumped me on stream. Caught me off guard, dude. I was panicking. Remember we're recovering aura from there. Seen him? Did I see the files? Yeah, I was going through them earlier today. I just made it actually past all of what I was talking about, the Epstein stuff today, and Kevin Warsh and being on the chair. Also, for anybody here who doesn't know Zeb Boykin, Zeb is everyone's favorite Confederate soldier. He is General Mustard and Colonel Mustard in the flesh. No, I'm just messing. Go give Zeb Boykin a follow. Zeb Boykin's another co-founder here with New American Vision, another fellow commentator here, another pro-white Christian nationalist. Glad to see you in here, though, brother. Appreciate you, man. Sorry, it's too easy. It's too easy. You can make fun of me for whatever you want, Zeb, on stream. I don't care. It's just the way it is, dude. One thing I want to take people's attentions to, I won't play any of it on stream here, but I do think it's a great piece of content you should listen to. I have not listened to it yet myself, so I'm kind of speaking out of turn here. But Jared Taylor and Joel Webben had a conversation, and it seems like it took place remotely. It's like they're going back and forth with each other there. But that's about 2.5 hours of content that you're not going to get anywhere on any other, general mainstream, what's the word? Any kind of general mainstream right-wing source. So I think that was going to be probably a great conversation to get listened to in there. And I don't know to glaze my chat. That's funny. But just to point you to it, because I'll probably be listening to it later on at some point, and I'm sure it's probably a great conversation to listen into, especially seeing a bit more of that kind of the fleshed out of the ideas, that natural tension that exists between those who are more pro-white than they are pro-Christian, and then those who are more pro-Christian than they are pro-white, and then like the butting of heads. And then also brings in the element which Zeb pushes all the time, and Corey Mahler as well too, and I'm inclined to agree, which is, can you truly have a Christian nationalist country if it's not a majority white country? And I think there are questions that need to be answered about that. So I'm curious, how that conversation took place there. Comrade Jones says, but going after businesses won't happen because of lobbyists. Don doesn't want to crater agriculture, construction, manufacturing. So the best he can do is show force and try to scare illegals. Yeah, but that's, again, because the donors are who the real voters are. The donors are who the real voters are. Like, that's the will of the donors is actually probably the language that needs to be used a lot more. Because Donald Trump is, that's all he's going to be acting and behaving for. And it kind of, hearing Nick say that yesterday on America First too, also kind of made me double down a little bit on some of the elements that I'd been thinking of as well too, in the same light as like Alex Jones as well. But Alex Jones is more so, losing his company and being basically kind of forced to work as a wagee to pay for Sandy Hook for the rest of his life, is the fact that Trump had multiple impending cases leading up to the idea that we were asking ourselves, can a felon become president? Facing multiple court trials, court cases, and also knowing, regardless, even if all those cases were to fall through and they wouldn't be successful, whoever was going to be coming in the next administration, were they a Democrat, they would be pursuing and going and targeting Donald Trump. And we all know this, and in that element that you do have to kind of think about, are there pressures there that Donald Trump took on these donors and is now acting on the behalf of these donors because he wanted to save himself from being thrown in prison? I think there's a lot more truth to that than there is not. Zeb says he's going to be starting a stream sifting through the files. When I get off, you want to join in a sec? Interesting. Okay. I will not be able to tonight, but I'll throw it on in the background, my brother. So yeah, people want to make sure you're following Zeb Boykin to have him go through the Epstein files, because there's quite a bit. And good luck with some of that stuff on YouTube. That's funny. And Hook, Hook is race first, and that is a conversation to be had here. Victor says this dude's voice is nice, just nice. Are you serious? It's elite. 10 out of 10. S tier. Give Morgan Freeman a run for his money type voice. No, I appreciate it, dude. This is what happens when I'm in a good mood. My natural cockiness shows up, and it starts like pouring out, which it might work against me. I don't know if I can do it like how Nick does. Zeb says gay. I know. I'm sorry. I have ignored my wife and kids for 7 days straight. I have, unfortunately, this is my 30-minute session. I am mandated by the courts to sit with my children. As soon as that 30-minute timer is up, I will be yeeting myself to a Miami nightclub. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Do I like Andrew Wilson? I love Andrew Wilson. Andrew Wilson's like one of the top agents. If feminism had an op, it was Andrew Wilson. Like, feminism isn't scared of much, but it is scared of Andrew Wilson. Yeah, I'm just like Morgan Freeman, but I can make the wheel. That's funny. I was gonna hit the Goynip later. That's hilarious. No. I do feel bad though. Because when I work all day and then I stream at this time, I literally basically get out and I see my daughter for like 30 minutes before she goes to bed. And it's been wearing on me a little bit, actually, mind you. I don't like that feeling, actually, that I feel like I'm not seeing my kid as much as I should be. But the other one that I really want to drive home, well, while the gang's all here, dude, Megyn Kelly based again. We have to listen to this because I wrote down a couple of sentences I wanted to say after this. But Megyn Kelly went on a based rant. Where did that come from? Went on a based rant again. And here it is.
What really happened?
And it's to the Trump administration on deportations.
What really happened was in an effort to take down the temperature, which was raised by these agitators on the street, Trump said, we're going to give up on anybody who's not a criminal. I know. Tom Homan said we're not doing that. I know he said, no, we'll still, we'll go after the ones who aren't like also criminals on top of being illegals. We will. Like he basically made it sound like if we encounter them, we're going to get them. But the mission has changed. Don't fool yourself. Tom Homan went in. There was a divide between Kristi Noem and Corey Lewandowski reportedly on the one side and Tom Homan on the other, and a couple of others who are in his camp on who we should be going after. And Noem and Lewandowski wanted it to be everyone. Illegals who are here, period. And yes, we should prioritize the criminals, but like we should also be getting the illegals. That's what we were elected to do. And Tom Homan's general approach has been, and I understand it because we only have limited resources, worst first, the worst first. Let's prioritize the criminals. And now,
Indeed.
Believe me, it appears that the accommodation we've reached with these locals is we are just going to go after the criminals. And when Tom Homan was specifically asked, what about the others? Like he was like, oh no, they're still technically on the agenda. Oh, I mean, I'll play you the sound as we go through the opening. You'll decide for yourselves. I'm sorry, but that's not what we voted for. We actually did vote for.
Hey, a woman is speaking. You sit we here at OA, we sit our white asses down and listen when a white queen is speaking.
All of them to get out. And so this is a win for these protesters. That it is. Like the president's ardent defenders are going to try to spin it as like, no, it's not. He hasn't given an inch. He's tripling down. No, he isn't. He isn't. I mean, it was very clear. And I love Tom Homan. He's doing the president's bidding. The president decided to turn down the heat because his poll numbers are falling on this. I get it. I get it all. But I'm not going to lie to you about what's happening. Administration officials may try to spin you. That's not happening here. So.
Yeah, I unfortunately got pause game. I thought I was getting pull out game. God gave me pause game. Two different things, my brothers. Just a joke. Calm down, everyone. I am a married man.
Now we're going to prioritize just the illegals, just the ones who have committed an additional crime. And we are also drawing down the number of officers who are in Minneapolis. But really.
So now it wasn't as fiery as it was when she was attacking Natalie Portman, but again, probably female to female drama there. But here's the thing. Here is the thing. This is a woman. Okay. Are we checking? This is a woman, a white woman at that, who is, by all accounts, right now, further to the right than all left-wing men, all libertarian men, and a huge amount of right-wing men. So understand where we are. If you, listen, I'm just saying this as a signal. This is where a woman is. A woman is looking at the Trump administration going, I didn't vote for just the rapist. I voted for all of them to go home. You better be 8 miles to the right of where this woman is at. Because, brother, I'm telling you, if Megyn Kelly's right here, dog, I better not be able to see you from Megyn Kelly's point of view, dude. And that's what I mean. If Megyn Kelly's here, where we need to be, it's exactly where Nick and Matt Walsh were at. Deportations, don't care how ugly they were, and if you thought they weren't going to be ugly, you are retarded. What were we talking about? Where were you during these conversations? 30 million people being sent across the Gulf? How did you think they were going to get there? In the clown car they came in? You think we're going to like put a trail of street tacos leading all the way to Mexico and they will just happily find their way there? No. You have to physically remove them because they want to be here. Half of these people, a huge portion of them, paid coyotes anywhere from like $3,000 to $5,000 to make their trek all the way through. And Zeb saying deportation's off table. Trust me, I get it. But my strategic objective is not packing it in. My strategic objective is, okay, well, in 2028 when we get a guy in, or in 2032, and the longer that this goes on, it's gonna suck, man. It's gonna suck. But when I get voted, no, I'm just kidding. I would never make it that far. When eventually we get our Hitler in, we are going to deport you people. And by then, unfortunately, it'll probably be like 40 to 50 to 60 to 70 million. It's just as a reminder, when we do actually get someone who's willing to stand up for whites, Christians, and by all accounts, what it even means to be an American, which God willing, we'll get someone. When we move for mass deportations, it is going to be effing ugly, and it will feel like we're at war. Because that's what it takes. And it's just a joke that Dave Smith and all these other people are out here like, crying, screaming, whinging at the top of their lungs, about the principles and all of this. Well, principles are like conditional for one, for the most part, right? Think about this. The principle to, I always open the door for the people behind me. Do you? Really? There's not been one time you thought about that? I mean, they're like, they're like 20 feet away from the door. I don't want to stand here awkwardly and hold it. So do you always hold the door open for people behind you? No, of course not. It's conditional. Same thing being that the majority of all of our rights and everything that occurs in this country is conditional on the fact that the Constitution upholds them as a tenet in a charter. It's the same argument that Tim Pool was spot on about like 5 effing years ago that we seemingly have not learned the lesson of, which is it is pointless to hold yourself to principles or the rules of the game if the person playing the game is like, we'll use a video game reference, is like no clipping and using aimbot. It's like, bro, either get off the game or ban the guy, or like you have to go outside of that typical element to solve the problem. But again, if a woman's sitting right there going, I'm sorry, we voted for not just rapists and felons to go, we voted for any person who is brown to be sent down. That's what we voted for. Then I better expect every man to be calling for capital punishment for the people who are now preventing that from occurring. That's where we need to be. MAGA ran on a scam. Whole thing was fake, got millions of people to vote for him in the popular vote, then betrayed the people in every single element, lying on it through their teeth the whole way down. Capital punishment, all of them. You think this is a game? You think it's like something to be played with, the futures of millions of people, the entire white American species, if you will? Making people slave at wage jobs for 300 and whatever days a year, the same way that Nick said it. He's talking about how he could never work a job, but I just was thinking about it in a different angle. Having 20, 30, 40, 50 days of your life that you work at a job that you effing hate and would do anything to not be at. Have you thought about that lately? You thought about how many of those days, pure whole days, where you leave your family to go at a job you cannot stand, that unfortunately is probably like not even paying you what you should be under probably the worst HR rules of all time, to turn over at the end of the year 2 to 3 weeks of all of that work to some Somalian who effing hates you and isn't working because through the collective effort of the American taxpayer, they are allowed to live lavish lives, pretending like they run Somalian daycare centers. In Nurles Yule, they get all these special religious protections doing the same shit. In Columbus, Ohio, apparently the same thing. Apparently the same thing in LA. Apparently, and we know this. You know what the welfare state looks like. Birds Don't Even Real says we must escape the box. And here's the thing. I'm out of the box. And I hope that you guys are too. And the message is still standing firm. We are not going back in the box. I'm sorry. I don't care. Censorship, all of it. Doesn't matter, dude. All, especially for me, dude, personally, like all bets are off if it starts going backsliding into an extreme degree, all bets are off, dude. I will become the unhinged lunatic I warned you guys about. That's for sure. But it's not to be blackpilled. And the part of it is, it's like, what would you be willing to do? Like, if you could see the year 2100, if you do nothing right now, and we let the whole situation play out as it is, and your children are being hunted down by a bunch of blacks or a bunch of Mexicans or a bunch of just crazy whatever, can you live with yourself? Right? Like, can you live with that? What would you be willing to do to prevent that? Everything that we sit day in and day out praising our founding fathers for being relegated, dismissed, ended, made moot, now is only a point in history people look back upon. Doesn't exist anymore. People couldn't defend it. That's why I said earlier today, like, this idea of like people waiting for perfect opportunities and moments, and like waiting for like the gang to all be ready. We're going to get all the nod and signal from everyone. It'll be the all clear. You're going to have a green light. Never happening. It will never happen. You may never get the validation from somebody else for a right decision to make, period. And that's why I bring up all the time that the founding fathers were not a majority. They were a plurality. There's a lot of them. But very specifically, like their own families, wives, brothers, sisters, children, trying to turn them in. It's going to be, you're going to have to face consequences. Like you're not going to be able to, I saved my country and I didn't even get shot at. A lot of them knew they were going to die. And that's not to say to do anything dumb. It's not to say to like pick out, not at all. It's not what I'm getting at. But my point is if you can't even bring yourself to be chastised by the nitpicking, cat-loving woman in your family, then you're not even anything close. You're not even a fraction of what the founding fathers were. You're so genetically removed from the blood and soil that built this nation that it's almost like, I would just tell you, my advice would be you'd be better off, like, just keep your mouth shut and let your wife run your household, dude. Don't even try it, man. It's just gonna make things worse for you. You might end up divorced. I'm running out of advice to help people. I shouldn't be needing to tell certain people who are of certain ages at this point in time to be getting off their ass. Now, albeit, some people aren't even aware of certain things, and that's a different story. But some people know fully and are well aware of what is happening, what is going on, and are powerless to stop it, or at least feel powerless to stop it. And what I would say too, to that effect as well, is like, it is so freeing to not care. Not in the sense of like, I don't care like what happens to me, or I don't care what happens to my family, or I don't care, what happens to my wife or my kid, or I just don't care in general, right? Like I am kind of, typically I have like IDGAF attitude. But it's so freeing to not care about what people who don't have a lick's worth of good advice or strong morality think or do. And when you look at the boomers and you see how they behave in the older generations, just like, it is so freeing. I cannot explain to you how freeing it is when you just have that moment, when you open your eyes and you go, these people are effing retarded. They're all wrong for the most part. A lot of them are, some of them are right. And they don't have a lick of sense about them. You'll start to notice them a lot more, right? You'll see guys talking about the big tough man act, and then his wife shows up and you're like, I ain't seen this side of your personality, dude. Hey, did she teach you to sit and play dead too? And you just, when you can detach yourself from that, like you're not caring, like, I don't care what, I don't care. Like, and here's the thing, like I have a good relationship with my parents. I have a great relationship with my parents. But at the end of the day, even if they disagree with me on something, it doesn't like ruin my life. Nor do I like try to capitulate or like I'll change myself to like, to adapt to it or live under it, right? It's not to say to ignore your parents. It's just to say like, I have the confidence in my own convictions. And I feel like that's what a lot of people lack. And I'm telling you, like, I really don't know how you give that to people. I don't know how you make people believe. Like to me, at a certain point, it's like, how many videos do you need to be inundated with blacks not having to live under the same rules as you, on top of the fact that your government is run rampshot by a bunch of Zionist, pro-Israel loving Jews who hate Christ. And like, you just like, I'm going to like, I make sure I'm going to file my taxes to the I and the T. I'm going to make sure, like, rise above. Like, this is meaningless stuff. And you know, and I think people get caught up on stuff like that, but it is, I want to be hopefully not the first to tell you, but it is freeing. My chains have been broken. When you stop giving a F about what people think, this same world, the ones you're getting your negative comments from, the one that's you know, the same one that's, you know, saying pro-Israel, the same one that's screaming in the streets, the same one that's Renee Nicole Good, the same one that's saying, you know, white supremacists did it. Same world that crucified Jesus. And you think I'm going to put an ounce of anything into that? Nope. Care less. Oh, these people, dude, and Plato called it, man. Plato predicted that. If there ever were a perfect man, I forget the exact, I'm paraphrasing. Plato predicted it. If there ever were a perfect man, they would kill him. They would crucify him. And they did. So when I see a bunch of like black people screaming, you know, at a white person because the N-word's like bad and racist and all that, and it's like, I don't give a shit. Irina Zarutska was stabbed in the neck and killed, while the black dude said that I got that white girl, yada, yada, yada. Barely half of anybody reacted. Like, I'm sorry. Some of these elements that I just like are burned into my memory. I lived in the city for too long for you to lie to me about how black people are. And that's also the other element too, which is like, you know, and I'm nowhere even close to being a theologian or even being an amateur at that by any means. And so I try to typically avoid doing anything like that because I don't want to say anything that's a mistake or be made to look like an idiot or that I got something wrong. But what I would say, you know, love is truth. And I think about that a lot. And love is a lot of things, but love is truth, right? As it is written. And when you think about like one of the most basic things that is one of those kind of like 1984 Orwellian elements, which is your whole life you're told like and they have to, right? They have to socially reinforce it from like the moment you're born. Right? Everyone's all the same. There's no differences. The only difference is the color of their skin. There's nothing else. Nothing else plays a role. Don't listen to any of that. But you know in your heart of hearts that that's not true. And everybody knows it. And I think that is one of those base elements, which is freeing, which is like, I won't lie to myself anymore. And part of it does take a strong element of testosterone, that we know that, or you have to be autistic to not need to want or have that yearning for mass consensus validation of said ideas. But I think about that all the time for people who push that just retarded bullshit about all the races. And it's not just to say white versus black. All the races are different and then genetically different. And that's how the cultures bear out. We're all the same. It's like, it is such a lie. It is such a strong lie that even a kid can feel it. Even a young child knows that it's wrong. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. Detach yourself from that. Like, be free. And stop caring about other people's opinions. Most of these people anyways are just like, are like, you know, they're pro-abortion. They're proud of it. They, you know, they're a bunch of white women with their black boyfriends, with their black eyes, telling you how to live their life. Meanwhile, you know, they'll be like, and it's just to say, not to tag anybody in particular, but it's just to say, I think part of the reason that we haven't got what we wanted in terms of the administration is not only the fact that we don't have enough of our guys in the administration, but even inside of that term, our guys, I feel like there is a lot of room for improvement for where we could go, how we could behave, how we could act, how we position ourselves, what we expect from ourselves, and what we're willing to tolerate. And so, to that effect, I say be free. Don't hold yourself to the opinions of the world. And while I'm on that element, more of the same. They say Jewish youth extremist is what they say on this clip here, is casually spitting at the entrance to Gethsemane, which I'll probably say that wrong a couple of times, but it's a Christian holy site and the pilgrimage destination where Jesus Christ underwent the agony in the garden. And this clip is circulating. I'm not going to play the audio. You don't need it. But it is, as they're all walking on their way to class, not all of them, but a good amount of them are turning and spitting at the foot and the steps of this holy site here. And so, as it's described, this is supposedly, not supposedly, this is the holy site where Jesus Christ underwent the agony in the garden. And I wanted to spend some time actually talking about that because it made me, and I'm not going to get emotional on stream. Like I am in the process of aura farming. I have to recover the aura that Miss Nico made me lose. So I'm not going to get emotional on stream. But for those who don't know, the agony in the garden, open your Bibles. I just want to go through a small passage here. It's in Matthew 26, 36 to 42, which I'll pull it up as I'm talking. But it happened after the Last Supper, and it was before he was betrayed and arrested. And this is where Jesus took, it was Peter, James, and John to go pray with him before he was betrayed. And the reason why it's very significant is I want to bring to you the exact passage of what is actually Jesus said in these moments. And so it's Matthew chapter 26, verse 36 through 42. And so what does he say here? Forgive me, I'm finding my spot here. He went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." And then I'm skipping ahead to the next time Jesus speaks, here in 42. Again, a second time he went away and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if this cup cannot pass away from me unless I drink it, your will be done." And what is important and relevant in those verses there is it is an insight to Jesus praying to his own Father. And it is essentially Jesus kind of begging, and kind of a poor way to say it, but in the last moments kind of asking and requesting, is there any other way? Can this cup pass from me? Like, is there any other way that someone else can take this burden, right? It's kind of like the gist that you're getting there. And he accepts it. He's like, but it's not my will, it's your will, Lord. And you think about how nobody else would take that, right? Nobody else. It's a very, 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 to be that giving of your life. And it's a very human moment from Jesus, right? This kind of conversation between Jesus and the Father. And it's just a beautiful and very human-like moment. And he wants his friends there, right? Which is why I reference him bringing them, Peter, John, and James. Wants his friends there. And you might recall from the story, he's like waking them up multiple times because they keep falling asleep. And then he eventually gets mad at him in the morning. And he was like, come on. He was like, my betrayer is here. You guys slept on me the whole day. And you see a bunch of Jews spitting on it. And then you think about the fact that our entire conservative and Republican nexus of, politics is just on their hands and knees worshiping these people, despite how much we know and just the history in general. And not only do they hate Christ, they rejected Christ. He was their people's Messiah who was rejected. And these things kind of continually show themselves. And then you see video even today, after millions of dollars of our tax dollars go and support these people, is the entire, reason that they're even are allowed to exist. And not every single one of them are having to spend every ounce of their day building armaments, because they would be literally under assault if it wasn't for the imposing element of the United States. It's just like, I won't say anything too insane. But what I will say is, like, I am so fucking tired of Jewish people. I am so tired of hearing them scream and whine and moan when it is Christians who are the ones who are being persecuted. It is Christians who are the ones that are being silenced. It is Christians who are the ones that are being genocided. And you see this as like just icing on the cake, obviously. But that's the stance, dude. Like, you got to say that boldly. Like, and I'm tired of hearing the whining constantly about Muslims and Islam. Like, either talk about both or shut the hell up. I am so tired of this whinging and whining that you can tell me up and down about what Islam believes and what's contradictory. That's great. That's good. We reject Muslims and Islam too. But if you're not going to actually address the main problem in the room, then there's no point. There's no point. It doesn't help. And if anything, it misses the actual broad reasoning. And if anything, beyond that, shows an extreme lack of grasp of scale and importance and priority. Need to lurk more. But just when you read that moment and you see the very, like, the human moment from Jesus, it's like, you wish, I wish that you felt that from more of like the men around you, right? And I think that was kind of the direction I wanted to take it, which was, I don't feel that kind of energy from men. And I maybe did a little bit when I was younger, but like, it's definitely gone now. And it makes me think of that edit that was reposted by Jake Rattlesnake earlier, which is Nick saying that, we lost something that cannot be measured. That can't even be like described. That can't even be qualitatively articulated. But when you see all these Kino edits, you see all of these. You know it. You feel it in your heart of hearts. You go like, we did lose something. And you see these old edits of a more organized society, a more prudent society, a more cohesive society. It's hard not to think that you were robbed of something. And to that effect, it's violating in the element that you don't even know, like, accurately. You were robbed of it, but you never felt it and never had it. So there's another layer of like, you took something from me that I can never get back. And so when I see all these people wanting to bow out and pull off and want to, slow things down and not go full blown, it's like, I'm sorry. I'm actually the complete opposite. I would want nothing more than to see the left completely and utterly destroyed and eviscerated, and we have like Marxist laws and communist laws come in, and we arrest people like Hassan. Oh, you want to push this Marxist dog shit? Okay, jail. 5 years, jail. And it is like one of those things too, again, where it's like, it's freeing to believe and be unafraid. It is freeing. And I cannot extend that to you enough. Just what a boon it is in your life to fully accept, one, Jesus Christ and the truth that is, but also to detach yourself from the just Neanderthalic, retarded nonsense that is everyone else's opinion, because it's dog shit. It is literally dog water. I hear people, I don't want people to take offense to this, but I mean it from the bottom of my heart. The majority of people who try to give me advice and talk to me, I think are literally, they need help. They need assistance. And they need to stop talking to me, and they need to reorganize their lives. They need to explain to me why they can't tell me why the housing market is the way it is. Explain to me why you think you're going to tell me about this, but you can't explain this. Ruled by a generation of people who are defined by their escapism. Ruled by a bunch of people who wanted to be left alone. And I'm beginning to think that whole, You know, you don't really want to mess with people once they don't want to be left alone. People, you know, come out to play. Well, looking now like they actually don't ever come out to play at all. They actually sit and hide forever until their country's gone, and then it's too late. So, a massive pushback to all of the everything that was allowed and tolerated. But you know, such is the way it is, which is why the advice now is cannot black pill. It is darkest before the dawn. It, you know, people, Nick would hate this, but you know, Lord of the Rings, it was dark, right? It's there. Just because it is hopeless and it feels pointless doesn't mean you don't try. If what's presenting you right now is your entire country being taken over and us being browbeaten into complete submission, where I'm being forced at essentially gunpoint for a lot of my tax dollars to be flooded to a bunch of people who don't appreciate the country, who won't assimilate, and are actively seeking to rob, loot, destroy, eliminate, and degrade, subvert, and divert. What? I don't need any more motivation. Not happening. Not while I'm breathing. Not going to do it. You know, I have to say some things in a certain way just because, you know, YouTube will treat it like such, but it's sorry, I don't, not like the sovereign citizen thing, but you can't, man. And Woe said it best from Stone Choir. We at this point in time, it is a necessity. We are going to have to go through an era of martyrs. People are going to have to take it on the chest. That is how we move forward. And that's why I brought up the founding fathers. Again, another element. Yeah, if you blaspheme Jesus Christ in here, dude, you're gone. I'm not putting up with that shit. Go watch some stupid Islamic streamer or something like that. Christian nationalists here, dude. We're not playing games anymore. Say Christ is king or get the fuck out. Period. But that's got to be the element. No more of like, no more of. That's why I say being a stream of consciousness, having the conviction of your beliefs. You got founding fathers knew that there were going to be prices to pay, consequences would happen. That didn't stop them from taking a risk. And hell, it wouldn't even be called taking a risk if there wasn't going to be a potential consequence or negative thing occurring. So I say that in the element of people who are afraid of losing their jobs. Not good enough of an answer. I'm not good enough of an answer for me. Some people will say, well, they have families and whatnot. I get that. You better bust your balls. Oh, you got fired because you stood up for the right thing? Good. Should have expected it. Should have known what you're dealing with. Now figure it out. Pick yourself up. Make some money. It's going to suck. You got to do something different. Fine. Completely fine. You say Christ is king. People think I care. Like, dude, I stream bald all the time, dude. Oh no, I'm going to get offended. But I want that. If anything, I want my message to other people be, you got to step up your conviction. You got to step up your intellectual game. You have to step up even your physical game. You have to be better than what you are right now, myself included. You have to be elite human capital. It's the only way we're getting out of this. And quite frankly, I'll be honest with you. And part of the reason is because I was blessed by God. I'm not going to say anything other than that. Like, I have a voice that a lot of people are like, that's insane. And to me, it has helped me get through life in a bit easier and better ways, and been able to have open doors that wouldn't have been otherwise. And that's what I mean. You need elite human capital. If you want to be able to have dominion over your own life, your surroundings, your wife, your children, you have to be elite human capital. Stop drinking Mountain Dew and not doing the things that you keep telling yourself you will do for the 100th time for the 3rd year in a row. Just do it. Have to. That is the only way we're making it out of this. And like Zeb said earlier, mass deportations are off the table. We're about to experience another 4 years of having to duck our heads from the left. So use that time to become insane, become strong. Now, not like literally insane, like schizophrenic, but like insane, like good, like strong. Powerful. And that includes all the elements. And as much as people want to say anything about looks maxing and all that, everybody knows it's true. The halo effect is real. You will get farther in life if you are not a fat slob. Point blank. I was a fat slob too at one point. And I figured it out. And I tell you too, once you are not fat, you'll never look back. Some people have a hard time with it because they're really addicted, but for a lot of people, that freeing element of being able to go through an entire day without being distraught of breath, you will never look back. Being able to go through an 8-hour work shift and it feel like your life isn't literally ending, you'll never go back. So there's probably a lot of other things I could have covered today. I probably missed a few. I've rattled just a few off the top I think I might have missed. Brett Cooper, Jeremy Boring, Candace Owens says having a tiff. There's reports coming out relevant to Brett Cooper and supposedly her mom confirming some of this. You can find that from Sam Parker, who's doing a good job covering it. But this goes into details about what ended up getting. Forgive me. Brett Cooper pushed out, and like the hiring of her maid of honor and like the weird, relationship. And for whatever reason, Jeremy Boring is running the podcast circuit now. And he was on Piers Morgan yesterday, right after we covered him for the Trigonometry podcast, or earlier today, whatever. And YouTube did take down Tyler Oliveira's Canada video. It wasn't deleted completely, but it was privated. There's a crazy video coming out of the UK of a bunch of leftists who assaulted a conservative, and then the police show up and then they arrest the conservative. If you want that to be your country, say you trust the plan, say nothing, and continue tolerating everything else you have been until now. It's all going according to plan. And Tim Pool and Dave Smith got into it, although I don't really think that's worth covering. Tim Pool was actually right, though, in his argument. And, oh yeah, there was one other thing I want to spend time on. I know I might go a little long. There was a video that came out from Caleb Hammer, and I don't want to play it because I'm just here close to the end. I'll just tell it to you. And Caleb Hammer, this like the financial guy, he goes through and he like covers like these couples' finances and helps them get on the the right track. It's like bar rescue, but for like couples' lives to get their finances back on track. And it was really sad. First time I'd felt bad for a woman in a long time. But they're going through the information, and it turns out, like the woman's finding out for the first time that the husband is like paying a bunch of money to OnlyFans chicks. And she like starts tearing up because it turns out that like they've also been not intimate with each other. And so here you have this guy actively like watching porn, probably beating it while ignoring his wife. And that's becoming more of a phenomenon. Like this OnlyFans stuff and like the porn, the degeneracy, it is so over the top. And take this as a message or, as a sign. If you are still participating in that, stop masturbating. You are a cuck. If you participate in masturbation, you are a cuck. You are cucking yourself. That is disgusting. You are getting off on watching other people have sex. You are a cuck. You are a cuck. You are a cuck. Stop watching porn. It needs to be banned completely and altogether. And honest to God, I get it. It is very addictive and purposefully so. And I say that strongly to hopefully send the shame message to men to like get them to jolt out of it. But it quite literally is. And when you see some of the science behind the brain of a lot of men who watch a lot of pornography, it is disturbing. And I think I'll leave it at that. My heart goes out to that woman because that's probably an awful moment to be having on camera. And probably will be the end of their marriage, I would imagine. But also you have a duty as a man to not do that. Also, just like how pitiful is that? You have thousands of men complaining about their wives not giving them sex, but you're in the reverse position. You are quite literally the female. But with that, I think that's it for today, guys. I appreciate everybody for being here. Make sure you smash the like button if you have not already. I will say it again at the end, like I did at the beginning. For people who might have missed it, I will be taking up a good bit of more part-time work, so you just in general may see less of me. We'll see how it plays out, but I really want to ensure that my wife doesn't have to work and keep the stress off of her just because I can't stand when she nags me. So I was just kidding. But just want to get that out there that there may be a few more days where instead of a video or stream, you might just get nothing because I'm more than likely I'll probably be working. In all 6 hours, I just want to maintain the success I've been having, and so In order to do that, I want to make sure that I am also good and stable financially as well. I'm not disappearing by any means. You'll just be seeing a portion less than me, probably about maybe 20% less than what you are right now. But with that, Christ is King, Christ is Lord, say it or get out of my country, never come back. And, man, deport Kash Patel, deport Pam Bondi, and at this point, jail everybody in the Trump administration for failing their promises and lying to the American people. And God willing, we will one day get the Hitler that this country deserves at this point. I appreciate you guys. I'm rooting for you, as always. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I should be seeing you tomorrow on the Groyper Report at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Take care.
Get up and get out. Get out. Get out.
I have a question.
Say Christ is Lord. Say Christ is Lord. Say it. You say Christ is Lord. Get out. Get out. Christ